Did you know that India's wedding industry is worth 10 trillion rupees? That's around 130 billion US dollars. To put that into perspective, it's more than the GDPs of countries like Morocco, Slovakia, and Sri Lanka. That's how massive the Indian wedding scene is. We all know weddings in India aren't just ceremonies, they are full-blown festivals. Think about multi-day events, choreographed dances, designer outfits, buffet counters that can feed an army, and a guest list that's longer than the constitution. It's rarely just about the couple, it's about families, neighbors, families, friends, their kids, and probably your tuition teachers too. But here's the kicker. On an average, Indian families spend twice as much on wedding as they do on their child's education. Yes, twice as much. That's a trend we have seen, live through, and sometimes even help perpetuate. So, is this something we should continue to celebrate blindly? Or is it time we ask the tough question? By the way, I'm Nikhil, I'm a chartered accountant, have spent nearly 2 decades working with EY, PwC and one of India's top wealth management firms before launching my own startup. And this is Finicky, where we simplify money, no jargon, just truth. In this video, we'll break down how Indian wedding market became so gigantic, what role liberalization, privatization and globalization reforms played, and how social media turned weddings into a grand spectacle. Let's break it down. Every year, between 8 to 10 million weddings happen in India. That's like the entire population of Switzerland getting married annually, and that too extravagantly. The average wedding cost in India hovers around 12 to 15 lakhs, but in urban areas, that number can shoot up to 30 to 40 lakhs or even more. In fact, for many families, this one event becomes the single most largest expenditure for their entire lives. Compare this to the US, where the average wedding is about $30,000 and the entire wedding industry is valued at $70 billion, almost half of India's. And yet, India's per capita income is just a fraction of that of the US, which raises the biggest question: why do we, a predominantly middle-income country, spend so much and so lavishly on one event? It's not just about the affordability, it's about the mindset, culture, and decades of conditioning. In India, a wedding is not a personal moment, it's a social statement. It's the biggest event in the family's life and in many cases, the biggest way to showcase wealth. It's a culmination of years, sometimes even decades of savings with the sole purpose of putting a show that earns approval, admiration, and in some cases envy. This mindset isn't new. It's rooted in centuries of tradition where marriages were seen as an alliance not just between individuals but between families. The grandeur was a proof of social standing. The scale of the wedding became a direct indicator of success, honor, and how much a family valued their daughter or son. And while some of these traditions are beautiful, others come with deep financial strain, especially when they are not done out of choice but out of social pressure. In modern times, a major shift happened in the early 1990s when India liberalized its economy. With liberalization, privatization, and globalization in India came a flood of new products, foreign brands, media exposure, and of course, aspiration. Suddenly, we weren't just looking inward, we were looking out at MTV, at Hollywood, at luxury imported goods entering the market. Designer labels became household names, middle-class families started climbing into the consumer class. And naturally, weddings became the biggest event in most Indian households, became the outlet for this newfound aspiration. Weddings moved out of homes and into banquet halls. The 5-plate, home-cooked meal were replaced by 25-item buffet counters. Jewelry, once passed down through the generations, now came with designer tags and 6-digit price tags. What became a cultural expression slowly became a consumerist obsession. And if one institution solidified this grand makeover, it was Bollywood. In the mid-90s, movies like Aapke and Kaun didn't just entertain, they transformed how Indians looked at wedding. That film alone turned wedding into a song and a dance and an event, setting the entire template for generations to come. Soon after that came Kabhi Khushi Kabhie Gham, Band Baja Bharat, Ye Jawani Ye Diwani, each adding one more glam, one color, and more chaos to the big Indian wedding dream. Suddenly, everyone wanted a destination wedding, a Sangeet ceremony, and a proper 3 to 5 days event. Suddenly, the wedding wasn't just a family event, it was a production, a spectacle. Every couple wanted their own filmy love story and a reception to match it. And guess who stepped in? Event planners, choreographers, decor specialists, social media consultants, an entire ecosystem blossomed around this demand for cinematic perfection. Till today, the pressure remains the same, but now it comes from a different place. Your phone. Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, YouTube, they're all turned weddings into content. Brides and grooms now have a pre-wedding shoot in Udaipur, Ooty, Manali, Kujoro, hashtag couple names, drone shots of the Sangeet, underwater shots of couples and whatnot. You're not just getting married, you're creating a viral movement. And when everyone's wedding is trending online, the pressure to match up is intense. You're no longer competing with just your cousin or a neighbor. You are competing with celebrity weddings, influencer aesthetics, and thousands of curated highlight reels. In today's time, the bride and groom's attire typically costs around 15 to 20% of the total wedding budget on an average. This is between 70,000 to 3 lakhs. Catering can range from 600 to 5,000 per plate, and photography can start from 1 lakh, and there's no limit depending on the aspirations being met. These are broad estimates, and the final cost can vary significantly based on location, scale, and preference. This isn't a celebration anymore, it's performance, and we know it comes at a cost. Here's where it gets even more serious. According to some surveys, about 30 to 35% of Indian families either take loans or liquidate major savings to fund weddings. India Spends Wedding Report 2.0 highlights 60% of Indian millennials want to fund their own wedding, and of that, more than 60% go on to take some form of a loan. These are high interest, about 10 to 25% interest loans, because they are not asset backed and do not produce any sort of wealth to them. Some go as far as selling property or gold meant for future security. Rural families sometimes even mortgage land. All this for a celebration that lasts for 3 days. And let's not ignore the gender dynamic here. Even today, in 2025, a huge share of the burden falls on the bride's side. Dowry may be illegal, but the expectation still lingers in subtle, socially acceptable forms. Gift for the groom's family, jewelry, car, furniture, expensive venues. Families go on to spend 5 times more on daughter's wedding than they do on her own higher education. So let's talk numbers. The average Indian wedding today costs around 30 lakhs. And no, that does not include the rich Delhi or Mumbai families. We are talking about mid-tier venues, designer outfits, multiple function, photography, catering, and of course, the just-in-case extras. Now let's break down and understand what that 30 lakhs can actually do. You could fund an entire postgraduate degree abroad, including tuition fees, accommodation, and living expenses. Or you could do 2 full master course in India. This could also fund down payment for a decent 2 BHK flat in tier 2 city, or even buy a compact apartment outright in some towns. 30 lakhs could actually wipe out student debt for 2 people and still leave a breathing room. You could set up an emergency fund, buy health insurance, life insurance, and still have enough left to invest 10 to 15 lakhs for your future. But here's the reality. We often pour the entire 30 lakhs into a 3-day spectacle. On stage decor that is dismantled the next morning. On 2,000 per plate dinners that half the guests won't even finish. On lehengas worth 3 lakhs that won't even be worn again. On pre-wedding shoots with drone shots that looks like they're launching a Marvel film. And the couple starts their life with zero financial cushion, no plan, and in some cases debt. So here's the thing, Indian weddings are crazy expensive, and the money that's spent is life-changing money. But sadly, in most weddings, the money vanishes in 3 days on decors that's toned down every morning, some of the food that's barely touched, and that too flashy outfits that are worn once and packed away forever. No one remembers that 8th starter or the color of that flower wall, but the couple will remember whether they started their life with savings or with stress. So maybe it's time we flip the script. Let the weddings be about people, not performance. Let the real flex be buying your first home together and not the chandelier at your reception. Let's celebrate love, not compete with luxury. Because when the music ends and the lights go out, what stays is the foundation you have built, not the photos on Instagram. Let us know how much you would have saved for your wedding and how much you're planning to spend. That's it from me. I'm Nikhil Verghese. Share this with someone who wants a big fat wedding. I'm signing off. Stay tuned for more videos. Till then, let's make finances less tricky with Finicky.